Perfect.
I always feel like we should chat about something. That jumping onto a call where no one's saying anything can always be
Yep.
a little.
Yeah, it's weird, eh?
Yeah,
We're just yeah, I think talking about field camps and things like that, I think is huge. And I'm assuming that's going to be part of the presentation, so we don't want to give away too much, obviously. But I know our marketing folks were able to join on some of that, and I heard it was quite the adventure, getting content in a canoe and doing all of that.
yeah. There was some
Yeah.
drone trying to land a drone in a canoe. I think was part of it, and
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, for the people just jumping in now, I'm going to once again give it a little bit away from the presentation. But one of our kind of highlights is 5 weeks of outdoor field camps that we do at the start of second semester or second year, and it's very exciting. Well, I think it's exciting for like Ryan and I as the profs that that's when it's really the out and doing of the activities. So, um, yeah, it's definitely one of the highlights for our students because I think that's why we all get into this field is not like the learning of everything is fascinating, but it's the doing of, electrofishing with Ryan or, small mammal trapping, live trapping with me. And that's what we get really excited about. So yeah, that
yeah,
definitely is in the presentation because that's I think one of the best parts of the program.
yeah,
Sure, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I'm excited to see that, and I know how much stuff we have at Frost Campus, in terms of the labs and the display cases and stuff like that, and absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's very much the it's a fun spot. Well, you kind of so I went down to Matt, and Matt, no, you know this. This is more for the people attending. I went down to the main campus for an open house, and I brought down skulls, and I brought down telemetry equipment, and I brought down GPS collars, and I had what I called the sort of weird looking table, but it pulled everybody in because how often do you see, a whole bunch of minnows in a jar or a bunch of taxidermied animals or all that sort of stuff set up?
Exactly.
So, and that's what our campus is like. That's basically our whole campus. So that
It's
that
true, yes.
table expanded to an entire campus.
Which is exactly what we wanted. Showing everybody all of the great work that you guys are doing. Okay. Perfect. So I think we can get started here. Um, Looks like we've got 5 attendees there. So welcome everybody. Excited to have you here. I'm just going to start a recording, so we can have this for ourselves later and share it broadly. And we are also streaming to YouTube. So if anybody is watching on YouTube currently, you can scan the QR code on the screen there, or in the description, there's an option to actually be an attendee on the WebEx side. So you can use the chat function in order to ask questions to our great presenters, Keith and Ryan here. So this is going to be a great opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about the Fish and Wildlife Technician program here at Fleming. Oh, it was wanting to do its own thing. Keith, can you make sure that we're sharing audio as well for the presentation side?
Yes, how would I do that?
So across the top, there should be an option there, when you're sharing under settings, to then
Yep.
share audio as well.
I don't see anything that indicates I'm not sharing audio.
Okay, then maybe we'll give it a shot. Usually it's pretty good where if it's not working, it'll tell you. All right, so we're going to start with a little video here just about what Fleming is generally.
Can't stay still, don't ask me why. Where to next, let time decide. Me and the world see eye to eye. Life's a journey, enjoy the ride. Get vibey with it. See me on the decks, we live in the mix. Getting with the bass one time, let it make the room go crazy, cause we don't miss. I just go with the flow. Pick yourself up if the mood gets low. Sometimes chill, take it slow. Any bad vibes, hit the road. Hit the road. Any bad vibes, hit the road. Chill, take it slow. Any bad vibes, hit the road. Hit the road. Chill, take it slow. Any bad vibes, hit the road.
Perfect. So what I like to point out about that video is that one thing you'll notice is that there's not one slow-mo pan of students in a lecture hall, right? That's not what we're about here at Fleming. We're about hands-on learning. You're out in the field getting real skills to make you more employable, to make it easier when you are out in the field and find a job in order to complete that job to the best of your ability, not sitting in a classroom for 3 hours at a time and being talked at. It's all about that hands on learning. Before we begin, I do want to do a land acknowledgement. Fleming College respectfully acknowledges that we are situated on the Michi-Sagi lands and the traditional territory covered by the Williams Treaties. Chi-miigwech to the Michi-Sagi peoples for allowing us to continue our work in your territory. Brief introductions here. So, your hosts today are myself, Matt Thompson. I'm the manager of domestic recruitment here at Fleming College. And then on the left, we have Keith Monroe. Dr. Keith Monroe joined the Fish and Wildlife Program in 2022, bringing knowledge and perspectives from scientific research, wildlife management, policy, and conservation advocacy. Dr. Monroe has worked on everything from mice to moose across multiple species groups. Personal highlights include extensive research on the behavior, ecology, and management of white-tailed deer, proactive work to address the threats of chronic waste, wasting disease in wild pigs at both provincial and national levels, and serving as a member of Ontario's Big Game Management Advisory Committee. His goal is to help prepare the next generation of fish and wildlife professionals, just like yourselves, to tackle the important conservation and management challenges we face. Definitely my intro does not even compare at that level. That's amazing. And then Ryan Hill in the middle there. Ryan is a fisheries and aquatic specialist with over 20 years of experience in research and development, including several years of aquatic field-based research with the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry. Before accepting the position of professor in the Fish and Wildlife program, Ryan was a research scientist at Fleming College's Center for Innovation Aquaculture Production. Ryan is a graduate of the Fish and Wildlife Technician and Technology programs at Fleming with an honors BSc in biology and an MSc in environmental and life science from Trent University. So fantastic to have you both here to share all of your knowledge and your firsthand accounts in the program yourself, Ryan, and Keith, all of the great things that you've been doing. Really looking forward to it. For a little insider information, those two pictures there were actually deer before they replaced them, and I'm glad I chose deer as the placeholders. It worked well. Perfect. And I'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So I should say, as much as I would like to pretend that Ryan and I are like exceptional, we're not. I think we're pretty representative of all of the faculty in our program. Everyone here has a bio like that. We all come from pretty extensive backgrounds in the field, and we really bring that both knowledge, but also connections and sort of relationships into this program. So it's a good chance that if someone's like, "Hey, I really want to take, my career in this direction," we probably know somebody that at least could, help give you guidance in that path. So yeah, a whole sort of background, variety of backgrounds in our program. Yeah, so I'll say, welcome everyone. Thanks for taking time on a Wednesday night. Usually we just have one person, I believe, Matt, if I'm right, in these webinars. We're doing it a little differently, so I'm joined by Ryan. And the reason for that is this is the Fish and Wildlife program, and fish and wildlife are both incredibly complex fields on their own. So I'm a wildlife person. That's my background. You don't want me answering fish questions, which is why Ryan's here with a whole wealth of knowledge on the fish and aquatic side. So by getting both of us, you're going to get the sort of best picture possible of this program. So what is the Fish and Wildlife program? So we're a 2-year diploma program. We're based out of Fleming College's School of Environmental and Natural Resource Sciences. So this isn't located at the main campus in Peterborough. We're at Frost Campus in Lindsay, Ontario. If you're not super familiar with Lindsay, we're sort of about 40 minutes kind of west of Peterborough. A good 3.5 hours west of Ottawa, and about 2 hours sort of northeast of Toronto. So sort of central Ontario sort of location. And this is just a drone shot of our campus. So a smaller campus, but a pretty enjoyable feeling. Got some unique aspects to it that we'll touch on in a bit. So who comes out of the Fish and Wildlife program? At the end of the day, so our graduates are the people who get out and do the work. And what I mean by that is they are the people that are, you can see here, collecting samples on frozen lakes. You're doing animal capture work. You are conducting surveys, assessments. The people who basically do the hands-on work that ensures that we can sustainably manage fish and wildlife, that we can identify critical habitats and ecosystems. And at the end of the day, we can ensure that all of the natural resources that Ontarians rely on are here and continue to be available for the benefits and enjoyment of future generations. And I think our sort of success at that really speaks to the fact that if you look anywhere in the natural resource field, you find fish and wildlife grads. And that's really how I encountered this program. So I'm the only prof in this program who is not also a graduate of this program. And the reason for that is literally no one told me about the Fish and Wildlife program when I graduated high school. I'm confident if that someone had, we would be, 5 for 5 Fleming grads in this program. So where I encountered Fish and Wildlife grads was when I was working in the field, when I was going through graduate school, and I had Fish and Wildlife grads as bosses, as coworkers, and as assistants that I would hire. And I was always blown away by the capability of these people. And so when an opportunity came to be here and contribute to that, I jumped at it. It's really, this ubiquitous nature of everywhere you find Fleming Fish and Wildlife grads. And people take this this degree or this diploma and go far with it. We've got one grad whose job is managing 2 national wildlife areas. We have another one who manages a major consulting office, handling a staff of well over, say, 20 biologists and technicians. And then one of my friends I used to work with is the fisheries biologist for the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters, and has gone and testified before parliamentary committees about issues related to fish and wildlife. People take this diploma and absolutely run with it, and that's why you do find Fish and Wildlife grads everywhere. So, guys, this is kind of the sort of nuts and bolts stuff. So admission and health requirements. So to sort of the academic requirements for entry are you need to have an Ontario secondary school diploma, and you need to have grade 12C English as well as grade 12C math. We do strongly recommend having either grade 11 or 12 chemistry and biology. It's not required. You don't have to have it to be accepted. It does help because it kind of gets you a start on some of the content. But we do, if you don't have that, we still train you from the sort of ground up. We're a very sort of active and physical program. I grabbed this picture of Ryan and then Tom Brook, who's one of our other profs. This is them during one of our field schools. So you'll be doing stuff like in and out of boats all day, hauling big fish up on seine nets, walking for long distances in a whole range of, weathers and heats. You might be carrying heavy loads, hauling around an electrofishing rig. So a good level of physical fitness is very helpful for coming into this program. We do actually have two periods that you can enter the program. So you can do a start in September. That's when most people start the program. That's kind of our biggest intake. So you start in September, do 2 semesters, take the summer off, and then come back for your final 2. There's also a January start. And the way that works is you do your first semester in the winter, your second semester over the summer, and then everybody kind of starts their second year with their third semester together in the fall. I was trying to come up with a way to represent what you would learn in this program, and it's probably a bit wordier than it should be, but this is sort of the snapshot of our current curriculum. We're going through some review processes. We're always trying to make sure that our program represents the needs of the field. So this might change a little bit, but the core of it really stays the same. Where this comes from is kind of important. So all college programs have something called a program advisory committee, which is made up of professionals sort of in our field. So folks from government, folks from consulting, folks from non-governmental organizations. And they tell us what they need in employees. And then we build our curriculum with that sort of knowledge. So one of the nice assurances of why this diploma will help you get a job is because this is literally what the people who will hire you are telling us that they want in an employee. Just to kind of quickly run through it. So our first semester, this is a common semester. So everyone at Frost Campus, regardless of the program that you're taking, takes this common first semester. It's really your sort of fundamentals, your sort of foundational sort of building blocks for your time here. Things start to get a little bit more specialized for fish and wildlife in second semester. You're taking aquatic studies with Ryan. You're taking wildlife observation skills with myself. And then things really get interesting in third and fourth semester. This is where we take that foundational knowledge and we really build on it. So we get into specialized things. We bring in a specialized ornithologist to teach field ornithology. We have specialized courses in fisheries management, wildlife and ecology and management. So really the skills that make you that really good fish and wildlife tech, we hone them in second year. Some highlights. So we were kind of taught here, if you jumped on a little early to this call, you heard us talking about our field schools. This is really, in my mind, the highlight of our program. Matt was saying earlier about how you don't spend a lot of time in classrooms. You come to college because you want that hands-on experience. Field schools are where you really get that concentrated hands-on experience. So what this is the start of your third semester. You spend 5 weeks rotating across 5 different field schools. So you spend a week with a professor in each of the 5 field schools. So fisheries, wildlife, which is with me, terrestrial habitats, wetlands, and then freshwater ecology, which is with Ryan. And through all of these things, you are doing hands-on things. So we've got, out netting and pulling up large fish for tagging. That's in fisheries field school. So you're spending a full week out on boats. sampling fish and doing other related activities. The top right and the bottom left images are from my wildlife field school. I bring in 30 live ducks, and my students learn how to properly handle and ban ducks. And we do a bunch of live trapping. That's a long-tailed weasel that we caught. Not one of our target species. We were going for squirrels, but we caught a weasel as well. And then in the bottom right, that's our colleague Matt's field school, where you're learning about wetland evaluation, and they have a day where you're out canoeing around and looking at things. So really, these field schools, this is where you learn to collect data, analyze the data, and then eventually present that data, really showing the full scope of what you would do as a technician. Like, there are things in field schools that you would absolutely do, in your first technician job. Just trying to think if I missed anything there. There's a lot in wildlife field schools, so we can definitely have time for questions on their sort of field schools. There's definitely times if we can have there's definitely time for questions later. You can tell I got a little bit excited about wildlife field school and started stumbling over my own words. Here's another new thing. This is something we got a couple years ago, and we're pretty excited about it. We, as a program, are accredited by the North American Wildlife Technology Association. So folks in Canada aren't super familiar with this. It's a much bigger deal sort of in the United States, but what it is an association that maintains a set of standards for programs like ours. And so essentially what this does is this allows our students to take their diploma and go places and get that immediately recognized, especially in areas where maybe, let's say a state wildlife agency doesn't know necessarily Fleming College, but they will know NADA. So it's basically, my colleagues in the trades might take umbrage with me using this term, but it's kind of the Red Seal equivalent for our field. It's that larger body saying that yes, this program meets these professional standards. And we also offer other ways that students can get certifications, backpack electrofishing, which is Ryan's thing. So if you have any questions, definitely ask him about that. Ecological land classifications, a habitat course or habitat program, and then the Ontario Benthos Biomonitoring Network monitoring. And monitoring a couple too many times in there. Yeah, so these employer sought out skills are things that you roll out the door with. And where do you go? That's always the big question. People come to Fleming because you're passionate about this field, but you want to turn that passion, into a career. Graduates from this program have been the #1 choice for employers in our industry for many years. It's that ubiquity of fish and wildlife grads I talked about right at the start. Recently, we've got graduates have found employment with federal, provincial, and municipal governments. For example, Department of Fisheries and Oceans, Canadian Wildlife Service, their bigger sort of umbrella agency, Environment Canada. Lots and lots of employers, the Ministry of Natural Resources, private sector, many consulting companies, non-government organizations like Ducks Unlimited, Delta Waterfowl, Birds Canada, Trout Canada are all big employers. This picture right here, so this is the person in the brown cover or overalls. That's Matt Purvis, one of our profs, who's also a graduate of this program. And then the gentleman in the yellow is Zach, who's also a graduate and who is now an employee of the Ministry of Natural Resources. So yeah, our grads are going out there and not immediately is maybe an overstatement. They are highly employable in these fields once they graduate. I put this slide in because we get a lot of questions. We are a co-op program. So students who start the program in September do have the opportunity to participate in our paid co-op program. If you do the January intake, unfortunately you can't because you are in school over the summer when this would take place. You have to have at least a 70% average. You have to pass all your courses in semester 1 to enroll in the co-op program. And then you pay a co-op fee and you get placed in a paid co-op over the summer. I do know our co-op folks, they're really good at getting people placements. I will say, probably and generally, a lot of our students just end up finding employment in the field on their own during that summer break. So kind of my experience has been that summers, the students that want to have a summer job in the field can usually find something with, Ontario Parks is a major employer. Ministry of Natural Resources hires a lot of summer students, as does the federal government, like Department of Fisheries and Oceans. And there are multiple ways to sort of come from our program and go into a job. You can absolutely walk out the door with our diploma and start working. We wouldn't teach here if that wasn't a standalone thing. But as is often the case, more education can enhance sort of your career opportunities. And we provide a lot of pathways for that to happen. So we have dual diploma programs. These are programs where you can do essentially 2 years in the Fish and Wildlife program and then jump in like essentially halfway into another one of our programs, get credit for your time in Fish and Wildlife. You can do that with our aquaculture, conservation bio, ecosystem management, and resource drilling programs. So 3 years will essentially get you 2 diplomas, which is nice. We also have a lot of transfer agreements. So that's the list I have here. So these are post-secondary educations, universities where you can jump in part way into an undergraduate degree, getting credit for your time here in Fish and Wildlife. All the sort of universities have their own sort of levels of entry, but you do get significant credit for time you spent here. So if you are considering university, that's a great option. A couple of years with us and then jumping into a university degree. And then we also see a lot of people doing the opposite of that. I feel like every year we have some students who have already completed an undergraduate degree and are now coming to our program so they can get the hands-on skills. They can do the field schools. They can do our other hands-on opportunities and sort of add on to the, not theoretical, but sort of more theory-based education that you get at university. And then some sort of final thoughts I want you to consider. And these are questions I know I get a lot all the time when I do these sorts of things. This is an outdoor education. So, if you're the type of person who's thinking about Fish and Wildlife, the chances are you're not really excited about sitting in a classroom listening to, myself or Ryan, lecture for hours and hours. And a question that we get all the time is, well, how much time am I going to spend outside? So our campus has a huge amount of green space. We've got forest, fields, ponds, wetlands. We're right on a river, and we take full advantage of that sort of natural classroom. It's going to vary by courses, but it's sort of a general model is you'll have for one course, you'll have one lecture, one 1 hour lecture a week, and then 2 to 3 hours of lab for that class. And often that lab it's almost always hands-on, and it's largely outside as well, if provided sort of the material allows. So how much time are we going to spend outside? A lot in a whole bunch of different weather conditions. So good field clothes are helpful. And my second one is turning a passion into a profession. If you're the sort of person that your hobbies involve spending time outside, especially if it involves Fish and Wildlife, if you're a hunter, if you're an angler, if you're an avid bird watcher, if you like, camping or paddling, and you want a career that's going to get you out in nature, our program really gives you those skills to kind of take that sort of interest and turn it into a career. So we teach you the professional side of how do you make sure you have enough moose so people can go hunting? How do you make sure that we have, healthy, I'm trying to come up with the best fish example, and I'm blanking on it. Atlantic salmon populations. No, that's not a good one. Ryan will jump in with a better one later. He gave me a thumbs up. How do you make sure that is the case? And that's what our program teaches. And then the last one before we kick it open to questions. This is one that I think is we really can't overstate. We find that you can never guarantee it for everybody, but often when you come to Fleming, you find your people here. Um, many times I've heard these variations about, everyone I know thinks it's a little strange that I, want to spend all my time hunting, or, I bird watch every single day, or I know what microfishing is. I just learned what microfishing is from Ryan. And I just want to be outside all the time. I've got a big collection of skulls, of mammal skulls in my basement. Um, that's the sort of people we are. So if you're that kind of person who does these things, and other people are like, oh, man, that's kind of odd that they, have a whole bunch of mammal skulls, a mammal skull collection, you're going to find your people here. We do find that, that sort of connection is something that a lot of our students experience. And, very often it's friends for life that get formed here. So obviously it's not something I can guarantee, but it is a pattern that I see over and over again. And I'm sure Ryan can attest to that as well. So uh yeah, that is it. Thanks very much for, like I said, taking time on a Wednesday evening. Sorry, I've been marking a lot, so I'm kind of losing track of days. Um, yeah, I guess Matt, is it just kicking over to questions now, or do you have sort of closing things you want to talk about?
Yeah, that was phenomenal. I learned lots, which is great. Always love to learn lots, and just to reiterate that, like I think one thing we do phenomenally well at Fleming is creating those connections where we have our environmental sciences all out of one campus. Like that is your people. We have Halliburton School of Art and Design. That is your people up in Halliburton, right? So creating those communities on a campus is so beneficial, and being able to find your people and not feel like the odd one out, especially if you're a high school student currently looking to make that jump and find your people, or if you're a mature student and you're concerned about what is it going to be like coming back to post-secondary. You can feel comfort in that, right?
Yeah, there's definitely those shared experiences. If you really like waterfowl, and you come back, you're probably going to find other people who are equally excited about waterfowl. And that's a good point. I didn't really speak about that, but we do get, a range of sort of types of entry into this program. So a lot of folks right out of high school, some people coming back after maybe doing some other post-secondary, either a different college or university, but also people who've been working for a time and want to change up things and try a different career. So yeah, while the sort of cohort is maybe a bit more varied than you might find at, like at least in my experience, when I was an undergrad, there's probably a lot more of that sort of shared common interest. You want to go angling? There's probably people who want to go angling with you.
And that's what we're looking for, definitely. Ryan, go ahead.
Uh, just wanted to touch on that piece, Keith and Matt, about like the demographic or the age groups that we pull from. We do get a lot of mature students, some that have had, they're on their second or third career. I was one of them. When I was a student at Fleming, I was 31 years old when I went to my first post-secondary class ever. And I stuck with it for many years, and here I am today, proudly representing the program and helping to shape the next generation of student grads. So don't let that have you shy away from reaching out and trying to get your application in and wonder if you're going to be welcome. You definitely will, and I think it's a great opportunity for those that are maybe just not right out of high school. And this program, Fish and Wildlife, I would say it's an Ontario legacy program in the community college network. We've been around since the early 70s, running this program, and we've got multiple generations of people in the same family that have taken this program, right? And they're all out now working in industry. So that sense of community and membership to a large world-renowned team is a proud moment for us as staff there, but it's equally proud every day for our students and our grads. So thanks for doing such a great job, Keith, on the presentation today.
Oh, happy to. As I'm sure people saw, I get a little too excited talking about all this stuff, and that's just what I'm like when I lecture as well. So,
And I think how many alumni we have from the program teaching in the program is a testament to that community and how good the program is. Definitely. Um, yeah, if there's any questions, would be happy to go through and answer those while people are hopefully typing any questions that you might have. I would encourage you to book a tour of the campus. If you scan that QR code, you can select Frost Campus and book a tour with our great campus ambassadors, or book a one-on-one advising session with Brooke, our student recruitment officer, out of the Frost campus, and she'd be happy to connect with you. Blake does have a question. Would this program be the right choice with the end goal of becoming a conservation officer?
yeah, I can take that one. And
Mm.
this is something. It's a bit of a tricky question. You do not need a fish and wildlife diploma to be a conservation officer, and I wouldn't want to tell anybody, yeah, if you want to be a CO, you have to come here. I will say that our program has been a very common pathway for, if you look at like the folks who are COs right now, a lot of them are fish and wildlife grads. Like I said, I would not say it is a requirement. I would point to, I think there is some real benefit. Our program is a very ID heavy program. And if you're a CO and you're going out and you're checking someone's limit of migratory waterfowl, being able to identify, wait, that's a black duck, that's a golden eye, there's, a reduced limit on those. That's really helpful skills. So maybe I'm answering that question without answering it. I know a lot of people do come here as part of their pathway to being a conservation officer. I think the skills that we teach are helpful in that, but I wouldn't want to state that you have to be here to be a CO. So that's kind of my most honest answer that I can give.
And though that pathway to becoming conservation officer is usually is a little bit lengthy, frankly. Like
Mhm.
having a diverse background in education is helpful. I think the easiest choice to make would be to start with a program like the Fish and Wildlife program that we offer at Fleming, and then possibly build on that, even through a university afterwards, a criminology degree or something like that afterwards. We do also get a lot of grads that are quite successful moving up the ranks through in DFO as federal fisheries officers. In fact, one of our past professors was a federal fisheries officer and took Fish and Wildlife as a pathway there as well. So it's definitely a good first step if that's your plan in the long run.
Yeah, we actually did have a student uh, who got hired right out of the program as a CO. I believe it was last year too. So it does. I guess based on that experience, it does help.
Perfect. Yeah, and I know looking for that law background from a conservation enforcement side as well, and environmental, and as you mentioned, Keith, utilizing pathways for university. For example, Wilfrid Laurier University, you could go and do a Bachelor of Arts in Public Safety and get 10
Mhm.
credits out of 20 credits moved over. You've only got an additional 2 years in order to do something like that. So there's definitely opportunities, and to build on that knowledge, as you were saying, Ryan, from this program, but being able to give you those practical hands-on experiences out in the field and identify um, items and utilize that, definitely beneficial. Perfect.
Whenever
Hopefully
I give
more.
a, I was
Yeah,
going to say, whenever I give a talk and there's no questions, it either means I did a really good job or a really bad job. So,
that's okay. Maybe people are eating right now, or and perfect. So We've got another question here. Do students have any electives in their schedule?
Yeah, so I can actually jump back to our curriculum for that. So you get two general electives. I don't know if this works, but I'm trying to do my highlighter thing. So you have one general elective in semester two, and then one general elective in semester four. So I will say, sort of as a not a rule, compared to university, our course curriculum is much more fixed. You have a lot there is less sort of, choosing, well, I want to take cell biology versus, I'm trying to think of an example, wildlife ecology, or, those sorts of courses. Um, you basically, so we can make sure that you move through this program and get all the skills that you need to roll out the door, sort of job ready. The curriculum is more fixed. So there are electives, but it's just those two slots.
And I think one thing too, because I don't know if it's necessarily um, unique to Fleming, but how we build schedules is you're in a cohort. So say we have 60 students, let's just use even numbers here. We could have three different cohorts, A, B, and C, and there's 20, 20, and 20, and you move through that semester with your group. And you get your schedule 2 weeks before classes begin. So then you have it all laid out. And there's no last minute panics of I need to sign in at 11:59 p.m. on this day to make sure I get my first choices. It's all built for you, and then you have those general education electives. I'm going to throw those options in the chat here, so you guys can explore what those electives are, and see which ones might fit or might interest you and expand your knowledge a little bit further as well.
Actually, just one point, because I'm just thinking about other questions I've gotten. The cohorts are nice because your lectures for our program tend to be sort of full, like full enrollment, and our enrollment's about 130 students in second year. But we run 5 sections. So you're in a section of, I think right now we're somewhere between, like, my sections are 22 to 27 students. So it's small classrooms. There's a lot of familiarity between professors and students. I know all my students' names. They call me Keith. It's a great back and forth, like, collegial learning environment. So yeah, that's a nice upside of the cohort program.
Definitely.
Uh,
It looks like everybody's
yeah.
finished their meals here. Questions are flooding in. So Jeffrey says, if my son is unsure between fish and wildlife and ecosystem management technician, what are the main differences in career opportunities? Those are two different things, main differences
Right.
and career opportunities.
So I'm always a little hesitant to talk about another program, just because I'm most familiar with fish and wildlife. I believe EM is doing one of these, right, Matt? Have they signed up for
In the new year,
the new
and
year?
I could talk a little bit to that. Like our ecosystem management technician program is it's a generalist, right? So you're looking at a whole host of different curriculum to support ecosystems, and I have a family member that actually did that program and is now a project manager for a large environmental consulting firm. So it gives you the tools that you need to apply large ideas generally, and having different opportunities to travel abroad too, which is a great opportunity. Going to having the opportunity to go to Costa Rica previously, as well as the Sky conservation area in South Africa. So definitely some opportunities there, but I'll let Keith speak to the career opportunities maybe a little bit more in depth, maybe, or highlight again for the fish and wildlife side.
Yeah, I would say, and Matt, that kind of matched with sort of my understanding of my non being a prof in that program understanding of it. I would say probably where you would then, why you might choose fish and wildlife is if you do want that more sort of fish and wildlife focus, like, so, or more focus on, um, you know, the management of wildlife, maintaining. Um, I'd say a big thing for us is a lot of what we do has a sustainable use focus. So how do we extract resources from, fish and wildlife and natural ecosystems, but do it in a way that is, sustainable and ensures that you have that you have those populations there for the future. So I guess it's kind of a cop out to say, go to Fish and Wildlife if you like fish and wildlife, but that's probably a bit more where our focus is. Like you will spend more time out on boats catching, large fish and learning how to do that sort of work in our program than you would in EM. They do have a small mammal trapping field school component like mine does. We do it a little bit more than they do. It's sort of a broader species range. So yeah, that's the focus. Ryan, maybe jump in and help me out here.
Sure, it's also a really good joint diploma opportunity as well. So we have a lot of students that, well, I'm going to say a lot. I can recall there's probably 8 to 10 students that graduated from Fish and Wildlife last year, and they're returning to Frost campus again to get an ecosystem management sort of dual diploma. So that's a really good pathway too. We focus a lot on vertebrates and individual ID compared to sort of ecosystem function. We do touch on that as well, but we're also more focused on individuals as far as ID goes, especially, and then not so much population level stuff. So that would be a little bit more ecosystem management focused, I think, in that case. But as far as career opportunities, there is quite a bit of overlap there, but I think the dual package is probably the best opportunity for being marketable on your resume for applying to jobs.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, both are good. Like I think maybe that's why I'm struggling is because the profs in that program are also excellent. Like you will get I don't think there's a bad choice for your son there. I think I should probably say yeah, fish and wildlife, but let's be honest, they're both really good.
Perfect. And Carson, if you're planning on getting a dual diploma in conservation biology and fish and wildlife, is there a better stream to start with? I know there's a mandatory first semester course in Comp Bio that is not required in others. I've been accepted into both programs already.
Kind of the same answer once again. Both good programs. A lot of overlap, especially in your first year. So the one that you're trying to make a decision on. For example, in my wildlife observation skills course, I teach actually con bio students, EM students, and I believe still forestry students as well as fish and wildlife. So um, very similar to what we just said about ecosystem management. Um, the dual diploma is a great thing. You're going to get sort of the best components of both programs. I'd say probably go on the websites and see what first year course streams speak more to you. Like the first years are going to be like very similar, but maybe there's that one course that you would take. You'd be like, oh, I really want to take that. Ryan teaches aquatic studies in second semester of first year. That's something that fish and wildlife students take. Con bio students take a version of that course in second year, but there are differences between them. So yeah, if you really like to take Ryan's aquatic studies course, maybe fish and wildlife is the one to do the 2 years in and then roll into con bio.
Perfect. And I know what Carson's talking about as well, because the Com Bio, it's a little bit more expensive that first semester because there is that different course. And when we're looking at the dual diploma, you have to add that course in order to get your dual diploma. So sometimes it is easier to start with the Com Bio side because of that additional one, and then do the dual diploma into fish and wildlife. Um, but yeah, Carson, maybe send an email to ask us at flemingcollege.ca, and we can connect you with Brooke and have a bit more of an in-depth conversation on that and really find a good solution for you. Perfect. And Tammy's got a good question about the co-op placement. So does it have to be completed in Lindsay, or can it be completed in the student's hometown?
I've This might be an ask us question as well. I've never seen anything that suggests it's Lindsay specific. Um,
No.
I know if you kind of look at where the jobs for our graduates are, it's mostly outside of Lindsay. So at parks, M&R offices, and say DFO, Department of Fisheries and Oceans offices around the province. Um, yeah, feel free to send us an email, but I've never seen anything that suggests it's only Lindsay area. Ryan, have you?
No. I Yeah, I don't think it has to be just in Lindsay,
Nope.
and I've got a bit more experience with the related program with the co-op. Our aquaculture postgraduate certificate has a co-op, and our grads are all over the world, but certainly all across Canada is no problem for that co-op. And I'm pretty sure I see our Dean Laurie's chimed in too. I don't. It doesn't have to be in Lindsay, and it's basically a good chance to actually not necessarily be at home. If you live close to Lindsay, it's a good chance to kind of spread your wings or fins, I guess, and move around a bit for those co-op opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a great point is um, if you have an employer that is in the local hometown there that will take you on over the summer, and they have the ability to do that, definitely take advantage of that. Why not? But talking about Ontario Parks, I know we've hosted them at our Frost campus for an event over the last summer, so we have a close relationship with them, and they are active, obviously, all across Ontario, and we've got the M&R building here in Peterborough, and so definitely close connections there for opportunities.
This past summer, I was driving through. I'm completely can't remember the park it was. Looked out the window, saw two of my students, pulled over and chatted with them. So yeah,
Yeah,
we are everywhere.
perfect. Is there any other questions? This is fantastic. Hey, we'll give it another second here.
Ryan, what's something I should have mentioned that I forgot to mention? Those common questions we always get.
I can't think of anything you touched on there. I think the important part that we sometimes don't punctuate enough was that sense of community that you get when you come to a campus like Frost, especially, and a college like Fleming, of course, too. But that's a good kind of takeaway at the kind of closer of one of these things is it's not just about the cool things that you do, but it's the people. And I try to remind myself to say that every time we do something that's promotional like this, and is hoping to bring students to the program, is that your membership on in this team as a grad is like no other. So
I don't know how we could top that, Ryan. That's amazing. So it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in. If anybody does think of a question that you didn't get a chance to ask, please either email Keith or Ryan, or if it's just generally about residents, financial aid, about pathway opportunities, anything like that, please send an email to ask us at flemingcollege.ca. It's myself and my team that look after that email, and we will definitely get you an answer, and support you in that process. I know this is an uncertain time, trying to figure out where you want to be, what you want to do, and we're really here at the end of the day to make sure that you feel comfortable with your decision, and that's what it's all about, and what those next steps look like for you, and how we can help you be successful, because your success ultimately is our success, right? So with that, have a fantastic evening. Really appreciate everybody joining. Do you, Keith or Ryan, do you have anything to add?
I'm not going to try to top Ryan's line.
Perfect.
thanks,
Perfect.
Matt. Thanks,
I wish
Keith, and thanks everyone.
I wish I had a mic, right? That's what you need, just a mic drop.
Right.
Perfect. Thank you, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye for now.